on for lecture, which results in like, I didn't really have lunch, but that's all right. I'll kind of maybe nibble as I go.
I was sitting here, I forgot we were going to have lunch. I just bought you a long time coffee.
Oh, right. Oh my God, man.
It was like 22. But yeah, there's no lecture.
That's a long coffee. It's all good though. Okay, so I'll just carry on and I'll finish off just connecting up these materials. Now, again, obviously you can swap out these textures and that sort of a thing. But let's see what we got left for our materials and see if we can connect these bad boys up. Okay, so a real quick way of double checking for me actually is to pop over into my layers. It looks like the dirt's connected up and not the grass. So let me do that real quick.
Your stream is running up.
Oh, my stream is not running. Man. Oh yeah, I tell you, I came up with a bit of a hack around solution, right? Because I'd like you guys to see what I'm doing whilst I'm lecturing, because you know communications is more than just verbal, right? So you know it's sort of helpful, especially in terms of a memory aid and a visual aid and things like that. But I also want to be able to stream it on Twitch as well. So I'm just going to leave this webcam window open, and that'll do it. That's my hack around. Okay, so just as a recap, we left off with these materials here. I'm just gonna connect up some of these textures. You know what, I'll just leave this over by here. So I'm gonna pop back into my content browser. That's just wrestling for screen real estate, I think. Let me see, maybe I can do this. It's getting a bit tight. All right, so let me pop back over here and super quick. I just copy pasted the grass material and now I'm going to where I've organized my textures and we're just going to connect up inside Terrain Auto 2 textures. We're going to just connect these guys up, right? So I'm just going to, what do we got? This is the macro texture variation. So I'm going to put that, select that macro texture variation, select the texture sample, go down to where that texture sample is located and click on the connect arrow. Boom. Okay. Takes a little while to update. And this guy should also be the texture, macro texture variation. And we'll, oh, I'm missing a texture. That's okay. Let's just keep going. I was like, wait a minute, didn't I just do this? Of course, there's a macro texture variation and a micro one. So I need to grab the micro texture variation and move that into that folder at some point. But that's cool. In terms of variations in detail and breaking things up a little bit, personally, I prefer hand painting, but it's more time consuming. The one thing I don't like about procedural sort of variations, things like difference clouds or Perlin noise or whatever, is it's a procedural operation on a 2D plane. So it doesn't, you know, it has some potential to not feel very organic. But yeah, you know, I think to a certain degree, it's what you can get away with, isn't it? So I'm going to click the ground grass normal map, which is here. I'm going to pop over, plug that normal map in. And we won't do this again because I'm just going to copy paste from an existing shader I built inside this project. I just wanted to show you what can sometimes happen when you copy paste from a different Unreal Engine project. Modulate pixel depth with noise. I think this is just a Perlin noise. So I'm going to click that, click the Perlin noise and connect that up there. That should be job done on our shader. So I'm going to pull this open just to see if when I save this, it updates, and give it a minute. Wait for it. Wait for it. No error message on the, there it is. No error message on the material, so we're all good, right? So that's cool. We don't need, we've connected up our dirt. So that's our own material function in our project. I don't need that anymore. Close it off. Save the changes, yeah. Same with the grass. Don't really need that anymore. We're left with our stone, right? So instead of going through the rigmarole of copy pasting it from another Unreal project, I'm just going to go to where I created it earlier in Terrain Auto 1, and we'll pull it from here. And my layers. And what are we creating? Stone. So I'm going to grab the stone. Now inside this procedural stone, I've already created a make material attributes, right? So I'm just going to grab this whole thing. And then that means all I have to do is copy paste this over and just plug it in, right? So I'm going to zoom this out and copy paste that over. Yo, didn't zoom out far enough, apparently. And we will pop in here, and that output will go into the input of this node, and then the output result will appear in our preview window. So again, to reiterate, the reason why we're using material functions is that we will be able to have one convenient button to use as opposed to having to build this whole complex network again inside of our master material, right? So that being done, I can close out my old stone material, just waiting for this to compile shaders and re-update. Quixel Bridge doesn't let you have 4K. Oh yeah, I don't know if there's a 4K option. I think it's 2K 6, 2, 6, and 8 or something. It's something weird. A list of all assignments and their deadlines. That's good. Change makers. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so yeah, attendance. That's a big thing. I forgot to grab. So, is everyone here? Looks like it. If anyone's not here, let me know. Ah, no, don't let me know. You're not your brother's keeper. If they do pop in, I'll just take attendance again. It's not a big deal. Classroom. And that's at everyone. Okay. Whoa, why is it? What? I have too many users. What? What? That's not true. Year 2 classroom. Let me try this again. Unless it doesn't like me using the @everyone group anymore. Don't do this to me today. Come on. So, year 2 classroom. Yeah, @everyone. Okay, maybe it'll let me download a CSV file. Yes, it is. Hopefully everyone's on there. Yeah, let's open the folder. I'm going to take a quick look. I just want to make sure I got attendance done properly. No, it's not doing it. Man. Okay, I will figure that out later. I need to understand why it's not letting me suddenly take attendance. Crazy. All right, that's all good. Okay, pop back down to year 1 chat, year 2 chat. There we are. So here, raise your hand. Okay, so on another note, by the way, if you're not registered on F-Track, just email me and let me know. I need you to email me so I got your email address, and it's just easy to copy paste your email address into the F-Track admin window. So just do that for me and all good. Okay, so our stone is updated. There we go. It is indeed a really crappy low resolution stone, but that's what you get in the starter pack. Okay, so I'm going to close that off because that material is made. Now let's take a look at our landscape material. And inside our landscape material, we're going to start to put the pieces together here, right? So let's go back into our Unreal Engine project, into our content folder, right? So inside the layers, we have what looks like materials, but when you float over, it says material function on it, right? So let's grab these guys and drag them in here, right? So this is what I'm talking about, right? We've got these nice, neat little packages. If we didn't use material functions, we have to build that whole node tree and then connect it in here, and it'd just be really, really crazy, right? So let's go and we'll set stone and then dirt and then grass. That'd be a good way of sorting it. Let me check. So stone. I think that's the most logical way. Stone, dirt, and grass. Yeah, let's do that. Now, the one thing we need to do when we take a look at this is it's all fine and good. We need to get all that information over here to our central landscape material, our base color, roughness, and normal, right? But we no longer have all the connectors that we need. We've just got this one end result, right? Well, we need to break out our individual channels. I could take this end result, plug it into the base color, but the grass has got its own specular, its own roughness, its own normal, right? So back when we made the material attributes, we added those material attributes to the functions and then packaged it up. Now we have to take that package and break it apart, right? And so we break that apart by using, let me pull a wire out here. We'll go break material attributes. Boom, and that's what it does, right? It just explodes it back out again, and we've got our material properties again, right? I'm gonna move this off to one side. This graph gets a little bit messy, which goes against the grain for the Nuke compositor in me. When I'm inside Nuke and I'm compositing, all my node graphs are nice and neat. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy paste this, and we'll move this over here. Instead of connecting up all three, I'll just deal with the two for the time being, just so you guys get the idea behind this, right? So I'm just gonna move these guys around so that they're a little bit more in line. Now, what I wanna do is I wanna take the stone and the dirt and I wanna blend them together, right? Now, it'd be nice if Unreal Engine just had a blend node, but there are various different ways of blending two values together, various ways of what's called interpolating the resultant data between the two. You know, there's linear interpolation, there's spherical linear interpolation, there's straightforward spherical interpolation. So they all just mean blending. And we need a linear interpolation, right? And coders call it a lerp node, right? So let's get a linear interpolate, right? And so this takes the base color. We're just going to combine the base color in the moment. We're going to blend the base color of A into the base color of B, right? So that's our setup. And for the alpha, I don't know if I should create the, should we create the alpha? Yeah, let's create the alpha. All right, let's build this. Okay, so that's saying we're going to take A and we're going to do an operation on it to result in B. Now, how those two blend together is controlled by the alpha mask, right? So what we want to do is we want to create a specific operation for how that alpha blends between the two. Now, I'm going to grab a very, very counterintuitive node. It's the world aligned blend. And I'll talk a little bit about that, right? So there are two different ways of potentially blending things together, right? You need to, well, there's a few different things that you need, a game engine needs to understand before it can blend things together. First of all, where in the texture coordinate space we're located. So that's the UV coordinates. Secondly, what sort of physical vertex matrix are we dealing with? Local space or world space? Now, local space will just do that. They'll just blend the two materials together locally, but that doesn't do us any good. We want to be able to control how the two materials blend wherever it's located in the world. Hence the world aligned blend. We're saying, look, let's blend this alpha channel, but let's make sure you do it at various locations in the world, right? So we got three different coordinate systems to keep in mind here, right? So what I'm going to do is control the blend sharpness and the blend bias, right? We've got a few different switches here. Explicit, normal, world vector, we don't need to concern ourselves with that. But the blend sharpness is, you know, the border between two materials? Do you want it like a hard line, or do you want it to just soften and gradient out? So that's the blend sharpness. Now the blend bias is how high up on that object do we want the blending to begin, right? A bias means pushing it slightly one way or the other. You'll run into biasing everywhere in 3D and CG. You know, there's biases in lighting, there's biases everywhere. Biases in shader development, right? Clamping, we don't want to clamp anything. That means to cut off the data. So look, just blend until you reach a certain point, but then that's it. And then this, I think this is for stencil alpha. But we can, again, add a custom expression to sort of refine that alpha. So we want the blend bias and the blend sharpness. And I believe we're just using scalar switches for that. So I'll talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to type in scalar. So here's where things start to get confusing and somewhat technical, right? We've got a world-aligned blend, right? What does that mean? It's not very counterintuitive. It's very counterintuitive. And then we've got a scalar parameter. What the heck is that? Well, what we're essentially doing is we're making a switch or a value slider that we can control. Really, we want to put a number in there, don't we? What is that sharpness? Is it a 10% sharpness or 60% sharpness? What do we want it? Oh, I got a couple of questions here. Let me pop back over. Oh no, it's Swivex flagging me with attendance. That's whatever. Okay, so that's essentially what we're doing is we're trying to build a slider or a control to be able to control this, right? So what did he call it? Stone? Okay. So in here, let's figure out what kind of value we want to put in here. 1 second. Oh, that's fine. Okay, I'm just gonna put yeah, let's just call it stone. That'll be my stone dirt sharpness. Good enough. And then I'm going to copy paste this. Oh, because we just need another scalar. And we'll shove that into the blend bias. You know what? I'm going to grab my naming conventions. I'm really cognizant of the naming conventions I use because one part of the graph will refer to another part of the graph. So I'm just going to grab where I created this earlier and I'm just going to open it up in a separate window instead of just hunting through my notes. This will just make it easier to just go, oh, okay, that's what it's called. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. I'm going to rename this guy Stone Dirt Blend or Stone Dirt Bias. There we go. And so I'm going to set a default value of -3. And you'll see how this works a little bit later. And then for the sharpness, we'll set, a value of 30. So that gives like 30 units of blending ability, right? -3 is the elevation of the stone bias. But again, the fact that we've got these scalar nodes means that when we look at our shader instance, we'll be able to see these as sliders. There'll be sliders called Stone Dirt Sharp and Stone Dirt Bias available in our material instance a little bit later on. So that's good for us. Super handy. And let's see, what do we want to create next? Yeah, let's grab another world aligned blend. I don't want to connect up all three. I just want to go through and connect the one up here. So we've got that lerp node, and let's see. Let's come up this way. Do we want to split it out? Yeah, okay. All right. So, you know what? I'm just going to skip my notes and I'm just going to plug this in. So, we know that we've mixed these guys in. We blended it. Let's pop that into our base color, right? That's good enough. What I want to do is I want to create the same. So, you can see that we've got our blend, right? So, now you can see we've got part dirt, part stone, right? So, that's cool. Now, we want to mix in our other channels. So, that's basically what I need to do at this point. So, I need to copy paste this guy. We got another sort of lerp node. And this time we're going to linearly interpolate our roughness. So we got the roughness there and then the roughness there. And we will take from our alpha here. We're going to reuse the same world aligned calculation and we're going to use it again in here, right? So, yeah. And then we're going to take this guy and we're going to plug this guy into our roughness here, right? Yeah, that's pretty much what I want to show you guys. So we'll take that again. We'll copy paste it. There's nothing custom inside that node, so we're welcome to just sort of do it this way. In fact, let's get the graph going the other way, right? So it's a little bit clearer, a little bit. And then this time, we've got our linear interpolation blend affecting our base color, and we also have it affecting our roughness, which is fine because they're just image-based maps, right? So let's bring on our normal. We're going to pop that normal into B, and then we'll pop this normal into A. But we can't use the alpha to control the blending of the normal map because the normal map also creates the illusion of bending light rays. So there are additional calculations other than just alpha. Well, not additional calculations. If I were to do an alpha blend between two normal maps, you would lose the color value in the normal map that tells a CG program what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right, right? Because it would just fog that color out and it would mean something completely different and you'd get unexpected results. So what you need to do is you need to create a blend between the two normal maps that preserves the explicit normal data, right? Which is down here, explicit normal, right? So that is going to be how we blend our alpha. And the result of that, we will plug into our normal map here, right? So that's it. That's how we set up our material blend, right? So I wanted to show you how to connect up the two. And well, let's recap, right? So I've brought in a material and I've brought in a material instance, right? And I've created material functions for the various layers. And I've shown you how to explode out attributes from that material function and then package it back up again, bring it into here, and then break those material attributes out again so we can further create more node graphs and connections. What I would like you to do is to do the third one on your own if you've been following up till now. If you've only been listening and watching up until now, I'd like you to try this. At the very least, connect up two materials, right? I'll be sitting here connecting up the third, right? Now, it should be fairly straightforward up until this point. The reason why I want you to step back and do this practically is the next stage will start to get a little bit more complicated in terms of adding painting functionality for us to be able to paint exactly where we want the stone or the dirt or the grass, right? But before I forge ahead into that, I need you guys to understand how this stuff works, right? So any questions about that? Some of you may be panicking, don't worry. No questions. All confident, all good. Brilliant. Okay. So have a crack at setting this up, right? Now I will continue on and finish off with my connection of the third one. The third material function here, the grass. And I'll be walking you guys through that process. Hopefully, as you guys are doing your thing, right? So let's take a look. Blended those guys in. Yeah, that's cool. So I'm going to zoom up from this graph because it gets considerably hairier. But this is basically what's going on. In fact, actually, this is what I'll do. I will take, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'm going to grab these guys, right? Actually, maybe these two. And then type tab and comment, right? So comment from selection, right? So this will be the base materials. But it allows me to create these nice boxes around stuff. Oh, misspelled that. Right? So here I'm going to stash all my base materials. Actually, how about we call that base material function? Right? And I'm using camel case to write that in. Right? So we got that base material function. I'll add that one a little bit later. This might sort of help me keep organized. So I'm going to grab these guys and say, those are our broken out attributes. So I'm going to tab and type comment, right? So these are the attributes, right? So, and this is just a switchboard. It's to give us more dials and switches to play with, right? And man, I want to call this how to blend. That's not what it is. It's blending controls, blender controls, right? Right, so that's this whole area. Again, it's that world aligned node to tell Unreal exactly where in the world you want the blending to happen. And then just a couple of scalar nodes so that we can build switches for it. This one is the actual blending, right? So blend, 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 right? This comment section shrunk a bit. Let's grab that node. And this is the result, right? It's a good idea to create comment boxes. It helps to kind of keep you aligned as to what you've been doing with your material graphs. So let's see. And I think all I did was connect up. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, so the first thing I am going to do with this guy is I need to break out those attributes, right? So let me grab this attribute. I'm going to copy paste it. Right, so I got it up here. Remember, it always pastes where your mouse is located, so you can dictate where it ends up that way. And I'm going to plug this in, right? So now this node is grabbing all the info from our material function and breaking it out into channels. That's cool. I'm just debating whether or not to just copy paste these guys over. Maybe I'll do that, right? So we have got the end result going into A. Yes, that's right. So this end result is coming out of the base color node. That's right. Okay, so I'm going to grab this, which is my base color node. I'm going to copy paste it, right? So I'm going to connect up my base color first. Yeah, let's do that. So this base color is being combined with this base color, and the result is going this way, right? But I want the result to come in here and be my A, and then I'm going to mix in the base color of my B. So the result again is coming out of here, two colors mixed together, boom, and then I'm adding a third. And then the result is going to go to my base color there, right? So as I said, it can get kind of confusing unless you take it step by step, right? Mix those two materials together, get a kind of a clear understanding of what you're doing, and then see if you can mix in the third, and you can mix in a fourth and a fifth, and so on and so forth, right? Now, to get this to work, I need that world aligned blend, don't I? Right? Because I'm saying, look, I want you to blend, but based on those world coordinates, right? So to get this guy to work, we need that result to be plugged into the alpha here, right? So I'm going to grab this guy and I'm going to plug that into the alpha. Just like we did down here, right? The resultant of this is plugged into the alpha of my two other colors, right? Yes, so we're going to add those 3 nodes afterwards. So we'll need to add 2 more nodes, one for roughness, one for normal. So right now we've just got the blending happening in the alpha channel of the color, right? So in fact, I wonder if I can, let's do that. This might help a little bit. If I come in here, first of all, I'll change this back to blend, right? Now, I think what could be confusing is, well, especially for me, is not understanding which channel is which. So I wonder if I could do this in the description, actually. So if I do this as the albedo, there you go. That's good enough. I don't need to sort of rename it beyond that. This guy is the roughness. So I've grabbed that lerp node and under description, I'll type in roughness, right? And then the last one is our normal map. Cool. That way, when we dive in, we can see exactly which one of those what those lerp nodes are doing. They're lerping or blending the color, roughness, and normal. Right? So I'm going to do that here. Otherwise, I'll start to get hopelessly lost. This is my albedo map, right? And we've blended that in. Now, just as we did down below, I want a couple of sliders. I might as well nick them from here, right? So I'm going to grab this guy and this guy. I'm going to copy them, pop up this way. And we'll paste those guys in here. But this one is blending. It is blending the grass and the dirt, right? Actually, that's not entirely true. It's the grass and the result of the dirt and stone. But let's just, it's just easier just to change the one word. Grass, dirt, sharp, and grass, dirt, bias. Pop that on there, right? And let's pop this into the sharpness here and the blend bias into there. And you can see we have a particular effect. So this is what I wanted to show you guys in terms of the sliders, right? So let's come in here. We've got the grass, right? Now let me go to the dirt grass bias, right? So I've selected that. And let's now move the parameters up and down, right? Oops. This might not be as instantaneous as I was hoping, right? Bias is in there and it's affecting the... Let's go to 0. Let's go to 7. Wait for it to update. There we go, right? So you can see that I changed the bias and the grass texture is traveling further down the sphere, right? Let's go back to 0.5. Now I've pushed it back up again, right? So this is being calculated in terms of world space and being reapplied. Now, the grass dirt sharpness, we can go, let's say, up to 100. Oh, that was unexpected. Perhaps we'll see a better result when we apply it to our landscape, which we'll get to in a second. There you go. It should be softening the blending, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. Okay, that concerns me a little bit, but we'll test it in situ and see what's going on. Right? So I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to add another comment to it. And again, this will be my blend controls, right? And that's going in through there. I think that the only thing we need to do now is to create those guys for each of the channels. Yep. Let's do that. Okay. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab this, copy paste it, pop it down here. Now this one will be for my roughness. So this is our roughness result. Let's redirect that from the shader back up to our lerp node. Because remember, we want to blend the result of that one to the new roughness we're bringing in. B, right? And we want to grab that alpha from the world aligned alpha. And there we go. We've got that roughness. Now let's plug that, our new value in there, into our final material. And then I'll copy paste this guy again. I got this guy down here. And this one will be for our normal map. Right? And again, we want to take the end result of our normal map calculation from our two material blend. And we want to pop that in here. Right? We don't want to use that connection anymore because we're bringing in a third material over here, which is from our normal. And we're going to pop that into our B slot. Now remember, the alpha blending needs to come from the explicit normal wire over here, which I'm going to grab. We'll move it down and we'll pop it in there. And that's our resultant mixture. And we're going to plug that into the normal map channel there. And we've got a 3-layer material blend. We can't see this middle material, but I want to get it onto our object first before we start tweaking it any further. Let's have a look. 3 material blend. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. So now we've sort of created the first part of this procedural material. So I'm going to save it. Now that that's saved off, I'm going to move this material up in here and go back to our master project. Let's see what's going on in our material instance. Click that open. Check it out. There's our grass dirt bias, grass dirt sharpness, stone dirt bias, etc. Right? So our sliders have been added here to our global scalar parameters, right? Now, when we go into our landscape material here, it's referencing the landscape material instance. If I double click this guy, there's our material instance, right? I'm going to peel this off so we can have a look at it. And we can see that it's applied itself to our mountainous landscape. Let's see if we can make some adjustments here. So I'm going to turn these guys off. Turn all these switches on, right? And so let's say, let's bring that grass bias down a bit and see what we get. Yeah, now you can see the result of it, right? We're starting to peel that grass away. So let's pull it back a little bit further. Not too far, that's too far. It gets a little bit touchy once you get past -1, which is interesting. Right? So here we got a little bit of sporadic grass happening and stone poking out. So this is entirely procedurally driven, right? So now we got the stone texture blending with the grass texture. Let's go down to our stone dirt bias, right? Let's see if we can bring that. I want to bring a little bit more of that dirt in. That's cool. That's really cool. I love that, right? So I'm going to bring more of that stone bias in, right? So now we've got this wonderful grass transitioning to, I'm actually going to pull that grass bias back a bit. But we've got these wonderful transitions happening, right? We've still got tiling issues and all kinds of other stuff, but the one thing I like about this is that it is doing the base blending really, really well, right? More so than if I were to use Vertex painted blends, right? Bring a little, that's too much. So hard to tweak at once you get past -1. But there you have it. You can play with those settings. That's pretty cool. Quite happy with that, right? And then you can work on, so I've just set the bias, which is cool. Then you can work on the actual sort of blending. So if we take a look at the stone dirt sharpness, I can really sharpen that up. Oh, it's climbed up. Oh no, that's because I went way overboard. But there should be well, it's still looking pretty soft. Let's see what happens if we really soften it. It's acting like the bias, which is a bit strange. Okay, I'm probably going to take a step back and look at that, trying to figure out what's happening there. But you've got some blending controls there at your disposal, so you can really, really sort of quickly block out a landscape. It feels like the grass level is going still a little bit too high. So maybe I will pull that back a little bit. Then bring that bias up a little bit. Yeah, cool. So that feels a little bit better to me. Let me slow this guy down. Okay. Okay, so this is the front of the structure. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm happy with that. Obviously, it still looks like shit. I'm just saying I'm happy with it because the rough blockout is working to a certain degree in terms of contrast values. Obviously, we want to go back in there and deck it a little bit more, or rather just decorate it a little bit more, add trees, foliage, grass, all that kind of stuff. Because it's working doesn't necessarily mean it looks great. And it doesn't look great at the moment. But again, as a baseline, it gives me something to work with, right? Okay, so I'm going to save this off. I actually like this a lot better than my first go around at it. It's looking pretty good. And I didn't really need my notes all that much, so that's good. Okay, any questions about that at all? What I would like you to do, and this will give me a half hour to eat my lunch. What I'd like you to do is to, if you've already started, continue trying to hook these materials up. You can refer back to the Twitch or the YouTube channel where this, well, actually, it might not have streamed to my YouTube channel yet, but it'll be posted up on Twitch. So you can go back in the video and check it out. I will also show you the source of the technique. It's a guy who actually gives pretty good, I like his lecturing style, actually. I thought I was a pretty relaxed lecturer, but this guy's really funny. But I might as well give credit where credit's due, because up until, well, I'll tell you how I found this guy, because hang on a sec. The only material blends that I've done in the past were based on masking using vertex painting techniques, and I've never been happy with that. It just looks horrible. So I was on the hunt for a way of using just an alpha texture to do the blending so I could have higher resolution and whatnot. And I found this guy. So another resource for you. I'll pop it into the Discord chat. You can follow along with this guy, Noah Ilbery. Right? So that's the source material that I used. And it's quite good. I expanded on him by sort of explaining what each of the different nodes do a little bit more in depth, because you need to understand what is sort of happening in the background, right? And then just sort of making the connections in terms of, well, or just reiterating the dependencies that you're creating when you're creating this type of material system, right? Okay. Any questions, or shall I let you guys go for it? Anybody completely lost? Okay, you guys should have a blast with this. And it doesn't have to be a mountainous landscape. I'm just doing that because of the set that I am creating at the moment. But you could be, I don't know, making Moonbase Alpha, right? Or something. Or, yeah, just, which one of you guys, it was either, I think it was Ewan or Steve. Which one of you guys did that cool, like, purple landscape with the floating crystals and all that kind of stuff? Do that. Build on that. Do something cool with that. I really dug that look. Right? So if you want to jump in and, oh yeah, there it is. This whole set piece. So you get that landscape, right? Now's your opportunity to art it up, right? With that landscape auto material layer blending thing, right? So that'll look cool, I think. Okay, dead silence for the peanut gallery. I am hoping that my transmission has gotten through. I will leave you guys to it, and I will check back at like 1/4 past, and then we'll build on this shader. Okay?
Cool.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, I'll talk to you guys in a bit.
Cool.
And I'm still here as well, so if you got questions, just shout them out. Okay, and so for the Twitch stream, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. My final thoughts on this, it's okay, right? I incorporated it, it's okay. The next stage, which I'm going to hit in a few minutes, it's a lot of fun because I can get in there and paint, and I can finally crack open the Cintiq and then just start hand painting the textures, which, and I can always go back and landscape sculpt this as well, which is really, really cool. I can still tweak and touch up the environment, but I'm not sure I'm entirely happy with this technique. And I think one of the things I'm looking for is basically a painting procedural foliage mesh. Very similar in style to what I used to do back in the day is go into Maya and use the artisan brush tool and assign sprites or something like that, or geometry to the artisan brush tool, and then I can paint on surfaces using Make Maya Live and yada yada. So I'm looking for something very similar to that, and thankfully Unreal Engine does have that. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well, because this is such a fairly straightforward black box in terms of creating an auto material. You guys will find loads of commercial auto materials available out there, right, on the Unreal Engine marketplace, et cetera, where these types of materials or material systems or geometry painting systems, foliage systems are available pre-packaged, and they're relatively cheap, 20 quid, 30 quid, something of that nature. Learning to build this from scratch is definitely very, very productive because it allows you to wrap your head around yet more nodes and their relationships. But at the end of the day, once you get into a studio or a production situation, I'm sure there's going to be these types of landscape tools available for you, whether or not it's store-bought or proprietary tech. You will have those, unless you're going in as a technical artist. You should have these tools available for you straight out of the gate. But having said that, this was a lot of fun, and I will catch up with you guys in say 15, 20 minutes.